And good morning. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I am Glenn. Grant is in for Griffin again today. I don't know, maybe permanently. I don't know what the deal is with Griffin. He's just like, I need more time off. I'm like, what the hell? Did you just have a month off? What's going on over there?
Love you, Griffin.
That makes one of us. Got to come to work sometimes. But we will get through a busy day here on GCR. Got some Ravens to get into today. Coming up a little bit later on, Ravens linebacker Trenton Simpson will join the program. He's moving into a bigger role this season as he will be replacing Patrick Reilly as a starting inside linebacker. We will chat with him about that, and he's involved with our friends at Grade 8's Memorabilia's Back to School Blitz this Saturday at Weis Markets in Havre, Grace. So we'll talk about all of that. Also on the program, speaking of the Ravens, former NFL quarterback Jim Miller. He was at Ravens camp yesterday for SiriusXM NFL Radio's training camp tour. So we'll talk to him about what he saw. A lot of trades made by the Orioles last week. The one that probably went under the radar was they made a pure minor league swap as they sent Billy Cook to the Pittsburgh Pirates in exchange for pitcher Patrick Reilly. And Patrick Reilly is going to join us today as we make our weekly trip to Bowie to chat with a member of the Baysox. And also ahead of the final weekend for Athletes Unlimited Lacrosse out in Sparks, Izzy Scane will join the program. Two-time Tewaaraton winner, national champion at Northwestern. She is one of the rising superstars in all of lacrosse. Izzy Scane will check in with us. So a lot to do on the program today, and I will do my best to not be distracted by the women's volleyball semifinal going on. But I make no promises as the U.S. plays Brazil. Heartbreak yesterday for the U.S. men, losing in 5 sets. So now they'll play for the bronze instead of for the gold, which is a real bummer. It was a bummer of a day because that and then the last beach volleyball team left standing lost in the quarterfinal. There will not be I'm pretty sure they added beach volleyball to the Olympics specifically so that the Americans could get more medals and it would be on NBC. I swear to God. And there will not be a single American team medaling, men's or women's, in beach volleyball at the Olympics. I don't know what's going on. Pets' heads are falling off. But the good news is that I'm not quite as I was on edge yesterday. Everybody knows it was not a pleasant day because we were all worried about the news with Grayson Rodriguez. And look, I think everybody knew Grayson Rodriguez was going to the IL. It was going to be. I know that when we chatted with Will Carroll, the injury expert himself, he was like, look, there is a scenario where it is such a mild grade 1 strain that he would just miss a start, and if they didn't want to, they wouldn't have to put him on IL. The idea that he already missed a start, if he was going to miss another start, then at that point you have to put him on the IL because you can bring him back in 10 days and he can make the following start. I don't know that that's going to be the case. They described it as a mild lat strain. They didn't say specifically whether it was grade 1 or grade 2. And, again, if you listen to our conversation with Will Carroll yesterday, then grade 1 would be ideal. Grade 2, there's a lot of gray area. Great area. See what I did there? Gray area there. Now, the way the Orioles talk about it, it makes you think they believe that Grayson Rodriguez will be back. But that's an easy thing to say today, and then we'll have to watch that. As I said yesterday, whatever the time is going to be, Albert Suarez goes back into the rotation, and if somehow he can tap into what he was doing early on in the year, like what we saw for 5 innings on Tuesday night, that's awesome. But the real pressure is now on Dean Kramer and the guy that started last night, Trevor Rogers. And to Trevor Rogers' credit, he was much better last night. Much better. Now, he was facing the Blue Jays and not the Guardians, right? Like, the Guardians are a better team. And the defense still let him down big time, man. The Kobe Mayo third base experiment, I do wonder how long the Orioles are willing to let that play out. And nobody is excited about more Ramon Arias in their lives, but and I'm not trying to pretend like Ramon Arias is still a Gold Glove caliber third baseman, because he is not. That's the aberration. Like, that's the one that stands out. That's the anomaly. But it's bad. The line for Rogers does not reflect great, because it shows 7 hits and 2 walks. And I don't want to pretend like he was awesome last night, but I do think he was better. I still think the bar is fairly low for Rogers. Like, the bar was, you're going to need to be the 4th or 5th starter, and like now all of a sudden there's a competition. Somebody needs to be the 3rd starter for a little bit. One of those, I do believe they went back, the initial error on Mayo, they ended up turning into a hit, which, with all due respect.
The one that took a hop in the first? Or?
Yeah, with all due respect, that's
an error.
Really favorable.
Yeah.
And unfortunate for Rogers that he's got to wear that as a hit instead of as an error, because that's an error. That's a play that needs to be made. Like, that's not – I get that, like, there's a lot of ambiguity in the way the wording is written. That's not an extraordinary play. That's a play that has to be made by a Major League third baseman. And then, obviously, the other one was the brutal throw. And, again, like, that's a tough play to make. And he's doing his best to try to make a play, but it's a tough play. It's not extraordinary. Again, it's a play that you expect a third baseman in the major leagues to be capable of making. And it's worse if you throw it away. Like, if you just don't make the play because it takes you a second to gather, collect, and make sure you make a good throw, that's not great, but it's not nearly as bad as throwing the ball away and then giving an extra base and allowing an extra run to score, which at the time put the Jays ahead. The good news, let's not be too negative. Rogers did give them 5 innings, and the bullpen was very good last night. More importantly, it took a little while. Anthony Santander hits the early home run, and then the offense sort of falls asleep for a little bit. It's like, wait, you wanted us? You wanted us to do something? And then out of nowhere, Jackson Holliday, big hero, he comes. First of all, it starts with same thing. Vladimir Guerrero makes a terrible play at third base. Why is Vladimir Guerrero playing third base?
They put him back over there?
What is that? Because Horowitz was playing first last night.
I guess they wanted to find a way to keep him in the lineup, but there's a reason.
Vlad?
There's a
well,
reason.
Vlad should be playing first base.
There's a reason why they got him out of.
They had
third to
Horowitz
begin with.
playing second base, which I get. Like, he doesn't really seem like a second baseman, but if I'm going to experiment with someone, it's probably Horowitz and not Vlad.
Not Guerrero.
So,
well, there's a reason why they got him out of there, 5 years ago? Yeah.
So, again, that's a tough play, but, again, another one that needs to be made. Vlad gives him a gift. They get a runner on. Jackson Holliday turns around, drills a home run, puts the Orioles ahead. They don't look back. Anthony Santander adds a solo shot. Eloy Jimenez adds a 2-run double en route to a 7-3 victory. And everybody feels much better in Baltimore. There's much more joy in Baltimore than there was the previous day. And with that in mind, let's add somebody to the board. Yes. Man of the Match is brought to you by the Maryland 5-Star. As you see, it's not just a world-class equestrian competition. It's so much more. It's a true fall destination here in Maryland. At Fair Hill and Cecil County, go to maryland5star.us with the number 5. Get your tickets October 17th through 20th, the Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, the Corgi Cup, the great shopping, the fall food. It's all there. And again, one of the biggest equestrian competitions in the entire globe at the Maryland 5-Star. Look, you feel bad because for a minute Jackson Holliday was going to pick up another man of the match, but then, as I mentioned, Anthony Santander added another home run and made that unbelievable catch in right field, robbing Vladimir Guerrero of what would have been extra bases. So Anthony Santander is indeed man of the match for the 4th time this season. And, it's funny because Griffin and I the other day, we revisited our Orioles preseason predictions on, I guess that was Tuesday's show. And we were talking about how we both had picked Corbin Burnes to be MVP. And look, Corbin Burnes has been really, really good, other than, his last start wasn't so hot. And so it wasn't a terrible pick, but Gunnar Henderson was running away with team MVP honors, and we had kind of put that to bed, and we weren't really talking about it anymore. But I do wonder if, given how much time is left, that's a little bit more open, that conversation. And what Anthony Santander is doing, now a career-high 34 home runs this season, and by the way, there's the better part of 2 months left in the season.
He'll get to 40.
Well, he's going to absolutely get to 40. The real question is, does he have a chance of getting to 50? And with 2 last night, the answer is, yeah, he doesn't even need to have, repeat what he did in June in order to get there. He's at a place where if he hits 7 more home runs this month and 9 next month, neither of which for Anthony Santander is extraordinary to ask, he could legitimately have a chance to get to 50 home runs this season.
And chase Brady and crush.
This is nuts. Well, I don't think he's gonna get the. No. It would be extraordinary to think he's gonna get the Orioles record. I mean, that would require 20 more home runs before the season is over. I don't think that's happening. But I get what you're saying. It's not that dramatic of a difference between the idea of hitting 16. And if he were to replicate his June and have a 15 home run month, well, then all of a sudden throw everything out the window. It's nuts what Anthony Santander is doing. And yes, it is fitting that he is doing it in his free agent season. And that's the troubling part, because the guy that we were talking about before the years, maybe you could do a 3-year, $45 million extension. Nope. That's completely out the window. And the question is now, is the number more like the Nick Castellanos number? Are we trending more towards it being 5 years and $100 million to keep Anthony Santander around? And that was what I wrote about this week at PressBoxOnline.com. The problem becomes if it's like the Chris Davis thing. We go back to when they signed Chris Davis, and I couldn't believe the negativity from certain, not just Orioles fans, but folks around baseball about that. And I was saying to myself, by the way, we got to move some things around this morning. Jim Miller's got to bump back to 11 o'clock this morning. So we're gonna reconsider how it is the show's lined up. That's okay. We got plans. We're gonna chat with Trenton. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna chat with Trenton Simpson about 10:35 this morning. So that's the way we're going to do it, and then we'll chat with Jim Miller after that. We improvise, we adapt, as my friend Bob Haney likes to say. That's the way it'll go. So what you see there in the rundown for the show is the schedule. We're moving it around a little bit. We're going to chat with Trenton Simpson a little bit earlier, and then we'll chat with Jim Miller at 11. So anyway, as I was saying, sorry, take it back. Go back to Chris Davis. There was this negativity towards the Orioles signing Chris Davis. And I said, this is nuts. The Orioles spent money on a baseball player that's been good. We should be celebrating that. They don't do that very frequently. But as I said, when everybody tried to remind me for a couple of years, how are you feeling about the fact that you like the Chris Davis signing? Remember what I said when I wrote that column and when we talked about it, my point was, if this is the only money you're spending, then it's a problem. If this is, hey, we're spending money on Chris Davis, but we're not going to spend on Manny Machado, and we're not going to spend on Jonathan Scope, and we're not going to, then this is nuts. It makes no sense. Because Chris Davis alone does not a baseball team make. And that was when he was good. And I'll say the same thing now. If signing Anthony Santander is you saying, look, man, we got to choose. We can either sign Henderson, we can sign Rutschman, or we can sign Santander, then we're not doing that. Then I get it. That's when you say, hey, we are only willing to spend a certain amount of money, and if we spend it on Santander, then we're taking ourselves out of the running to sign Gunnar Henderson back. Well, then no. Now, I don't agree with that philosophy, but it ain't my money. You don't choose Santander over signing stars. if you don't think you're going to have the opportunity to sign those stars, and that's a huge question as we continue to talk about. This is, by the way, the time you should be visiting it with Jackson Holliday. Now is when you should be having that conversation. You're already past the can you do some sort of team-friendly extension with Gunnar Henderson or Adley Rutschman. That's way out the window. Now it's just, do you just want to pay them? Jackson Holliday, maybe you could still do that with. But as we brought up a million times, because Holliday and Gunnar Henderson are Scott Boras clients, the likelihood has always been slim. He just doesn't like doing that. He likes getting to free agency and negotiating with everyone instead of just negotiating with one team. Doesn't make it impossible. It's not like there's never been a Scott Boras client that has signed before getting to free agency, and you should explore it. But it ain't going to be at a team-friendly price. If you have reason to believe, based on your conversations with Scott Boras, that Gunnar Henderson isn't going to sign, that Jackson Holliday is not going to sign, and the Adley Rutschman conversation, as we've discussed a few times, now that he's this close to arbitration and making real money, it's possible, and got a really nice signing bonus to begin with, it's possible that his camp, which isn't Boras, would also say, too late, sorry. We don't need to do this now. So it might very well be that you're in a bind that way. And that's not the reason why you do sign Anthony Santander, because even if you're not in a bind, I would prefer that you do both. But the point is, you don't do it to choose not to sign somebody else. You do it because you think that he's a key part of the core. If you believe you can sign Gunnar Henderson or Jackson Holliday or Adley Rutschman or some combination, and you say we have a financial constraint that we have put in place, and that's going to be, if we spend the money on this guy, then we can't spend it on Santander, then fine. That's when you consider the, hey, Heston Kjerstad needs somewhere to play next season. It's going to be in right field. That's the way that it's going to go. But only if you're committed to spending the money on the stars. If not, I don't want to hear about how Adley Rutschman Anthony Santander cost too much money. Like, you got to show that you're trying. And I understand the argument of we need somewhere for Heston Kjerstad to play. I think we're all assuming that Ryan Mountcastle is going to be moved on from, so they have somewhere for Kobe Mayo to play, because as we continue to see, it ain't going to be third base. In fairness, they have a third baseman, so it's not like there's some sort of competition there. The argument would be that if you move on from Anthony Santander, now you've got a spot for Kjerstad. And with all due respect to Heston Kjerstad, and I truly mean that, Anthony Santander is what, in a perfect world, I mean in a best-case scenario, Heston Kjerstad might be someday in the future. Maybe. So it's the easiest thing in sports media to say, sign this guy. It's the easiest thing to do. And I understand it's more complicated than that. I know it's not that simple. But I'm telling you, this Santander one actually kind of, in a way, becomes the first real test of the Orioles front office. And I don't know enough about Santander's agency. It might very well be that they say, dude, we're 2 months away from free agency. We are not talking to you about an extension. But given the conversation I had with Anthony Santander, I would think that he uniquely would be in a place where he would be receptive. And I understand that there's the paradigm. I don't know where that line is between the power he has and the power his agents have. I would like to hope that he would have the ability to say, dude, if they offer me this amount of money, I want to be here. And I would ask that too. As much as I would say I put the pressure on the team, I think Anthony Santander would move into legendary status in Baltimore if on top of the player he became after being a Rule 5 pick, he also then became the guy that said, and I want to be here. And if, like, could you imagine that week between, I think it was J.J. Hardy years ago, who they announced an extension for the week between the end of the regular season
and the playoffs.
And the start of the playoffs. Could you
3
imagine if they did that with Anthony Santander at the end of the regular season? I mean, this place would go nuts.
They would love him forever.
Nuts! Big night. Big night. A couple of home runs. Incredible catch. And he's just been a rock star, man. He's just been an absolute. Look, he goes through these stretches. That's part of it. He goes through like he did at the beginning of the season. He doesn't always get off to the greatest start. But my God, that dude is a baseball player.
And a leader.
Yep, all of those things, man. So great stuff from Anthony Santander last night. The Orioles win. He's man of the match. Thumbs up all around. Big pop. Everybody's happy. The Orioles now need to go win the series, as they've been playing 500-ish baseball for a little while.
Underwhelming.
They got to go win the series.
Yeah.
Like, that feels good last night, but it's got to be followed up by getting the job done tonight. The Orioles wrap up the series in Toronto this evening. They'll have Dean Kramer on the mound against old friend Kevin Gausman for the series finale tonight. Then they will head to Tampa for a weekend series, which will mean that Zach Eflin will be starting in Tampa, which will be interesting, right? Like that'll be an interesting. I guess that means he would go tomorrow night. He would go tomorrow night, then Burns on Saturday, and then presumably Albert Suarez on Sunday, as they did really. They essentially confirmed that Albert Suarez will be in the rotation, taking Grayson Rodriguez's spot until Grayson Rodriguez comes back. The other bad news, like we needed more bad news yesterday. Jacob Webb's got to go to the injured list. Awesome! Super happy fun time. Brian Baker back up. Brian Baker is, like, in moments looked really helpful, and I kind of forgotten that Brian Baker had been optioned, and that. Like, I know we talk about how the biggest problem this team has is the back end of the bullpen, and it is, but it is, in a weird way, also kind of a testament to the depth that they have, that they're able to go, like, they have two injuries, and they're able to turn to Keegan Aiken and Brian Baker, who are both qualified major league pitchers. That doesn't fix the back end of your bullpen and the fact that we have no idea if there's a closer on the roster, but there is something to be said about the fact that you have that type of depth, that you have two major leaguers that you're able to turn to when you have two pitching injuries. Again, doesn't solve the big problems, but just, the margins, that's a better thing to do than to turn to, with all due respect, like Paul Fry in that spot. All right. So that's what's going on with the Birds. When we come back in, as I mentioned, we're going to chat with Trenton Simpson. Ravens linebacker is going to join us this morning. Later on today, if you want your baseball fix, Stan the Fan Charles and Eric Garfield, they're going to get together, 5 o'clock, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. They're going to be chatting about Orioles prospects, talking a little bit about probably what's ahead in the coming months, as maybe guys that have popped up on the radar as the season has gone on. That'll be 5 o'clock today. Stan the Fan Charles, Eric Garfield, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. It's Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Experience the thrill of the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, coming October 17th to the 20th. See the world's best equestrians compete in the sport of eventing, the ultimate test of horse and rider. Enjoy a weekend festival featuring locally sourced food at the Fresh Food Fest, a beer, wine, and spirits showcase, shopping, and fun for all ages. Check out the Maryland Corgi Cup, interactive kids corner, and more. It's the place to be in October. Visit Maryland5star.us for tickets.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin, and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
There he is, Agent 00 Chicken. Nothing can keep him from Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. Because right now, he can get a 3-piece world-famous chicken box for just $8 with a portion of each sale donated to a local charity. Plus, register to win world-famous chicken for a year. Come to Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. It's a real thriller, but it's only for a limited time. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now, and on the cover, Glenn Clark and Stan the Fan Charles sit down for a sports conversation with Maryland Governor Wes Moore, discussing the Orioles and Ravens stadium leases, the future of horse racing in Maryland, and how his own football career at Johns Hopkins shaped him as a leader. This is also our annual travel issue with information about sports tourism opportunities in Maryland for your family to take advantage of throughout the summer. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR. Barn burner for first set between the U.S. and Brazil in the women's volleyball semifinals. I am captivated, gripped by it. Baseball news this morning. I don't understand. What went wrong? Pedro Grifol was fired by the Chicago White Sox. What?
Surely it wasn't the losing streak, was it? Surely it wasn't 30 wins in
August. Reed and I were talking about this the other night on the radio show. It is actually a bit comical to fire him at this point. Like, what?
Who else is going to get them?
Like, you're pretending like something's going to turn around to the course of the next month and a half. And I know that was a debate they were having in Chicago, is like, do you force him to wear this for the rest of the season? And, like, I don't think it's about punishing him by making him take all the yells. It does seem odd that whoever else, whoever, I don't even know who their bench coach is or whoever you're going to force to manage is now going to force to have these losses on his, like, forever managerial record. But it's more like, what is, to what point?
Charlie Montoyo. He's
That's
the
who
bench
it is?
coach.
Okay.
And he had managed the Blue Jays, so that's
yep.
probably who it's going to be.
What are you getting out of firing Pedro Grifol? There's no I can't imagine that you're considering a scenario where someone who's on the staff is the manager next year, right? Like, it's not like you're trying to get them experience so that they're prepared to be the manager of the team. It's more just like you're just doing it for the sake of doing it. And you can say, well, hey, it's poisonous. Well, it's been poisonous. I think I saw somebody do the math. If they took out both of their extraordinary losing streaks, so they had this one, the 21-game one, and I want to say there was at least a 14-game one earlier in the season. If you took away both of those losing streaks, they would still be a sub-500 baseball team. Like, they would still be among the worst in baseball if you got rid of their worst baseball of the season. It's wild how bad they are. So I'm not – who cares? It's the White Sox. They're awful. And sure, just let somebody else be the manager. But there's also a point to be made of, like, why?
What's the point?
Why? And it might really be more like Pedro Grifol's utterly checked out at this point, and so they're like, all right, dude, you're not even competently doing the job, so we just have to see if someone else is willing to competently do the job the rest of the way. But you're not getting anything out of it. It's not improving. You don't have a Major League Baseball team. You stink. God, you can see how happy Eloy Jimenez is. It's funny because we talked last week about how it apparently seemed to be poisonous between Jimenez and the White Sox, and yet he's here. He's smiling all the time. He's performing. He's high-fiving everybody. He looks like a great teammate.
He's going to the postseason.
Well, I mean, that's like what it does for you to get out of hell and get into a place where, like, everybody around here thinks the Orioles have been struggling. In his life, he's like, this is effing heaven. Like, we're all very negative about how things have gone for the Orioles of late. Eloy Jimenez is like, this is the greatest feeling I've ever had. What are we doing?
So then how do you think Crochet feels right now?
Not
great, probably.
Yeah, I don't know, because it's a long-term play for him, and it's probably one that his agents have, like, dude, I know it's not fun. Like, I know it's unpleasant. But
it's a personal thing at some point,
you got to understand it's about business. It's about we're not letting you throw your arm off while you don't have a contract.
Right.
It's way better to be there where they're not going to the postseason and when you don't have to tax a bunch of innings and when we can shut you down. It's way better to be there for your future and for what we're trying to do long term. I think that you can coerce someone into understanding that and almost going numb to the surroundings and just looking forward and being like, hey, for me, I don't know. Or, Garrett Crochet's the type who's like, dude, I actually kind of hate that and wish that I was on a good team. Some people are just competitors like that. I did see earlier this week, I hadn't even thought about it, but of course the White Sox ended up tying the Orioles' American League record for most consecutive losses, and the irony there being that the 1988 Orioles, one of them was Larry Sheets. And on the 2024 Chicago White Sox, his son, Gavin Sheets. He's a great guy. I love Gavin. Everybody knows how much I love Gavin, so I feel for him. But irony of ironies that the two longest losing streaks in American League history included a father and a son. That's an extraordinary irony. All right. Very good. Today's show is also brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. The best place to watch all of the big events is inside sports and social at Live Casino and Hotel. They've got that giant 100-foot media wall for watching everything in Paris, all of the baseball, the preseason football, the UFC fights and boxing fights. They're always there for free inside Live Casino and Hotel. And you can win money betting in the FanDuel Sportsbook, make a weekend out of it, get a hotel room. Plus, Live Casino Rewards members have the opportunity to earn discounts on cash and credit purchases at the casino. Join the Live Casino Rewards Club online or in person at Live today. See complete details, livecasinohotel.com. Had to do this a little bit earlier because of the schedule out at training camp, but had the opportunity to catch up with Ravens linebacker Trenton Simpson right here on GCR. Coming up this Saturday, our friends and partners at Grade 8's Memorabilia, they are hosting a big event, a meet and greet, but it's more important than that. It's a back-to-school blitz. It's at Weis Markets in Havre, Grace, and you can go right now to grade8smemorabilia.com with the number 8, and you can register and guarantee your spot if you make a $25 donation, or you can show up, purchase a $25 gift card to Weis to donate, or a brand-new backpack, and you will meet our next guest. We are joined now by Ravens linebacker Trenton Simpson, who is with us. Trenton, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us.
Yes, sir, man. Thanks for having me today.
Trenton, can you take me through when you get the call from, everybody involved, hey, these folks want you to be involved with a back-to-school drive to help some kids out. What does it mean to you to do it? Why was it something important for you to say yes to?
Man, it means the world to me to give back to my community because I understand what the impact that I have as a Baltimore Raven and how I can inspire a young kid and a family to know that their dreams are possible and to be able to have one-on-one conversations with them and be able to, get back there, motivate them to get ready to go to school and have a great year this year.
Did you, was there any particular moment for you that, you realized how important school was? Because, we're all growing up. None of us want to go to school. None of us love it. Did you have a moment in your life where it struck you like, oh, no, this is as important as anything I might do athletically?
Man, I always knew school. I always had to put school first because, like getting scholarships and upholding a great GPA and having the correct grades, get you in a lot more doors than just being a talented athlete. So I always knew, like, school was a high priority for me and my family. And, going to class, being engaged, sitting in front of class and learning and being active in school was always important to me for sure.
So, again, this Saturday, Weis Markets in Havre Grace. You can meet Trenton Simpson. Go to great8baltimore.com with the number 8 to find out more. And we've got it up on the screen as well for you to check it out there. Trenton Simpson will be there from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday. So make sure you get up there to Weis Markets in Havre Grace. Trenton, I mentioned to you before we started chatting, I got the chance to chat with your dad. And for those that don't know, your father was a Ranger, right? Like, service was his story. Can you take me through how that life, how seeing that discipline has maybe shaped you and helped you in your own path within football?
Yeah, man, my dad being a Ranger has definitely helped mold me to the man I am today, and just a passion behind why I do what I do, going hard every day, being committed to a team, going in every single day, trying to improve on something and being disciplined, eating right, getting the right amount of sleep, taking care of my body, and just, the things my dad taught me is like, things I'm forever grateful for because it's being just a respectful man, respecting my teammates, my coaches, and just being a great guy inside and outside the building to my community and my teammates.
It does in any way, having seen that and that discipline, does that translate, obviously everything has been made about the jump that you're making this year into being a full-time starter. Does it help you? Does it aid you that you witnessed that you saw that was part of your life as you now have to make the discipline into a different type of role and a bigger role with this football team?
Yes, sir. Yeah, definitely, man. Like, just the discipline to, before I go to sleep every night, looking over my plays, watching more film. After practice, when you want to go home, just go get in that cold tub a little bit longer, or taking care of my body, or eating healthy. It's definitely translating and helped me so much going to year 2 and just being growing up into that lifestyle. It's definitely helped me and molded me to get ready for year 2 and for the rest of my career. Yeah.
So I think you've talked a little bit about the number change, and I know it has something to do with your mom because we were just talking about your dad. Can you walk me through for everybody why this was something that you wanted to do, why it was so important to you?
Yeah, so it meant a lot to me because my mom wore 23 in basketball and volleyball growing up, and I always seen pictures of her in 23, and I just knew like I had an opportunity to change to 23, and I wanted to represent my family. And I know this is my name, gets all the credit for the work that I put in, but it's much bigger than me. I come from a big family, and I'm representing a lot of family back home, and with the last name Simpson, and my mom also. So it meant a lot for me, and I just wanted to represent my family, my mom, and just go out there and play hard for my family, the fans. Go out there and give it my best this year.
So what did it mean when everybody found out? What did it mean to your family when you told them?
It meant a lot to my mom because, I do everything for my mom. Like, that's my rock. That's, my best friend. She's always been there for me. So when I told her that I was doing it for her, she was so happy for me. And then, like, her family were just like, they claim I get a lot of my talent from my mother. She's very athletic. So, it was good. And, they're excited to see me at 23 and ball out this year and for the rest of my career, So,
We're chatting with Trenton Simpson. So how much of that is true? Like, do you acknowledge any of that you got a lot of that from your mom?
Yeah, I gotta give it to her because every time I go back to her hometown, everybody's like, "Man, your mom was a beast in basketball and volleyball and softball." So I definitely give it to her. My father was also like a star football player. So I feel like God just blessed me with great genetics and 2 athletic parents. That's where I get a lot of it from. So I don't know who to give it too much to. I just say I'm an even blend of both of them, and I'm blessed to have the talents, and I'm just trying to go out there and display it to the world.
That's really cool, man. Trenton, so much is made. Obviously, the guy that you get to line up next to, and I know you've talked about how important it's been to have Roquan there, and clearly even to have PQ last year. But can you describe how, I don't know if easier is the word because it's certainly not an easy job, but how much smoother the transition is for you in jumping into a bigger role, knowing that you've got that dude next to you on the field?
It's a blessing to be able to play beside a Hall of Fame caliber guy, great linebacker. We all see what he does at a high level, how he does it week in and week out. And I'm blessed, man, because I get a chance to go in every single day and ask questions and learn beside the best linebacker in the National Football League. So for me, 23, going into my second year in the NFL, being able to ask one of the greats. How does he see certain things pre-snap? And, it's been a blessing, man. I feel like every single day I'm growing and learning something new every day. So, I feel like, man, if I keep improving and every single day, working with Roquan, man, it's going to be a great duo for sure.
Is there anything in particular that, like, you do in preparation or during practice or anything like that, like, you can recognize, I picked that up from – I know I do that because of watching Roquan?
I can definitely say being more vocal. Like now I'm a lot more vocal. You'll come to practice, you'll hear me on the field. I'm speaking, I'm calling the front, I'm relaying the call. I definitely say just being more vocal and just truly just having more fun with the game, going out there and playing playing it hard, having a great time, but, being vocal and just, being with my brothers on the field and just, going out there and emptying the tank every single play and every single practice. So, yeah.
Trenton Simpson is with us again this Saturday. Weis Markets in Havre de Grace. Go to great8smemorabilia.com, great8sbaltimore.com with the number 8 in order to find out more. He'll be there from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Trenton, the other change this year, right, is the change in your guys' coordinator and Zach Orr taking over. And Zach's a younger guy and knows a thing or two about the position that you played, and obviously you guys were together a year ago. What has that relationship been like with you and Zach, and how different, how similar might this defense be in his first year as coordinator?
Man, I can say like that's another blessing, just like that transition from him being my linebacker coach to my defensive coordinator, just us being on the same page and then me being able to know him on and off the field, and just knowing him as my linebacker coach and now seeing him as my defensive coordinator. I feel like me asking him questions and him knowing how I learned with him coaching me as a linebacker coach is I feel like it's definitely vital to my improvement every single day. And I feel like it's been going great, man. I'm excited to see, his first year as a defensive coordinator and, my first year, really getting out there and playing a lot of snaps on defense. So, yeah, I'm excited, man, for sure.
We know that you had the responsibility of being like the welcoming committee for Nate Wiggins this past offseason. Have you guys been spending more time together since he arrived? And what's something maybe about Nate that we all should know that yet we obviously haven't had the chance to learn about him yet, having not seen him on the field too much?
Yeah, man, me and Nate been tight ever since he got in the building. Even going back to our Clemson days, man, we were always tight. And we played for 2 years there. We won some championships together at Clemson. So, that comes with a lot of practices and, time together. But, ever since he's got here, man, we've been, just sitting down. I'm checking on, just trying to see how he's adapting as a rookie, but just spending time, just making sure we both, going out there and communicating, having fun. And, I could say, what a lot of people don't know, I feel like his personality is great. Y'all gonna love him. He's a high energy guy, and then, man, when you see him out on that football field, you can guarantee number 2 gonna be running people down, covering people. He's gonna be the great player. So I'm excited to see him progress, and man, I'm excited to be teammates with him again because he's a great guy in the locker room and someone great to be around for sure.
That's really cool. So I know it's not frequent, right? Because the ones don't usually go up against the ones. But have you had a moment yet where, you've run into Derrick Henry? Has that happened yet in your time here?
Yeah, it's happened a couple times,
okay.
Inside run and stuff like that. So, yeah.
So what is that feeling like when that human being, when that specimen comes right at you and you guys end up colliding?
Man, truthfully, a backstory, life being full circle. I played running back in high school, and that was the guy I looked up to. So to be on the field with him is a blessing, but I can truly say going against inside running against him and practicing against him in practice is going to make me better because there's no other running back in the NFL that's running that hard and is that size. So, I can definitely say I've been learning, and, it's just making me better. So when it's time to go out there and we play against any other 31 backs, I'm going to be ready to tackle them for sure.
Were you the same type of thumper? Were you, when you were playing running back, were you the one delivering blows like that?
Yeah, definitely that. And then, that the big body just outrunning people, stiff arming. I modeled my game after him in high school. So it's crazy to be teammates with him, but it's awesome to be able to talk to him down in the locker room and then us to share the same team. It's going to be awesome, man. I'm excited. I'm blessed to be here and in this opportunity, man. I'm just going to try to live it up, maximize my potential, and have fun every day, and, be grateful for the product of it.
We are just wrapping up here with Trenton Simpson again this Saturday. Weis Markets in Havre de Grace. You can make a $25 donation of a Weis Markets gift card or purchase a new backpack for their Back to School Blitz as we take care of kids in this area that need it. Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Weis Markets in Havre de Grace. Trenton Simpson is with us. Trenton, being a line and particularly an inside linebacker in Baltimore, right? There's a lot of legacy there over the years, and it's not just Ray. It's Roquan now, PQ, C.J. Mosley, Bart Scott. Like that list goes on and on and on. What has it meant to you? Obviously, being in the NFL would be exciting no matter what, but being a Baltimore Ravens linebacker and in the legacy of that, what has that meant to you, and how important is it for you to continue that legacy?
Man, it means the world to me. And what I realized a year ago on that draft night is, like, when they drafted me, they seen something in me. And it's meant the world to me because I know, like you said, the legacy and the guys who've come before me. So just, like another full circle moment, just watching Ray Lewis at a young age. And always, every time I watched the Ravens growing up, it was that defense, that Raven, playing like a Raven, that defense who flies around, sets the tone, and the team that no offense wanted to face, it's a great defense. So, man, I'm excited to uphold the standard every single day, not looking too far ahead, just trying to stack every single day and continue to get better. And, man, if I continue to work and grind and make plays, man, I'm excited to see what my future will hold in the future for sure. But I'm definitely excited, man. I'm blessed to be a Baltimore Raven and a linebacker for sure. That's
awesome, man. And, Trenton, the other thing, before I let you go, everybody I've talked to this offseason, everybody's talked about unfinished business. Kyle Van Noy said, we got to repent for our sins, right? Like, how much do you guys, you don't want to obsess over it clearly, but how do you allow it to be what drives you, that we were right there, we should have had it, now this is our year to go get it?
I say, man, just keeping it on your mind mentally, every single day, attacking the day, but understanding, like, you're working for today for that end goal at the end. So, I mean, just stacking days on top of days of everybody being on the same page. I know this team this year, we all have the same ultimate goal, which is finishing on top at the end of the season. So, I mean, I feel like every single day, I mean, of course, it's there in the mental, and, you want to make it right this year. But, I mean, we got a chance this year to open the season, set the tone for the season, go out there, and get our rematch. And, I'm excited, man, because it'll set the tone for the year. And, after that game, you still got a lot more games to play. Yep. But it's definitely one for the books for sure.
Yeah, you can't win the Super Bowl in week 1, right? Like, it doesn't work like that. Right. But, boy, it would go a long way to feeling good. It would go an awful long way to feeling good about it. All right, Saturday, 11 a.m., 1 p.m., Weis Markets in Havre Grace. Be there to support Grade 8's Baltimore. Again, grade8sbaltimore.com, the back-to-school blitz, and an opportunity to meet Trenton Simpson. Trenton, we're so excited for you and the opportunity in front of you this season, man. Thank you so much, first of all, for what it is that you're doing this Saturday and committing to the community and this place that you're now calling home. But best of luck moving forward this season, and thank you for taking the time for us.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to talk with you, and go Ravens.
That's Trenton Simpson. Now, I just want to update one thing. Since we talked to Trenton Simpson, we found out that the time for the event has changed. It's not much. They just bumped it from 11 to 1 to 12 to 2 p.m. So if you get there early, just hang out for a little bit. I think I saw that the Jimmy Seafood truck will be there, so get some food, hang out, and wait a little bit, but not significant. Just 12 to 2 now on Saturday will be the time. Trenton Simpson will be at Weis Markets in Havre Grace with Grade 8's Baltimore for their back-to-school blitz. And again, either a $25 gift card donation, a Weis Markets gift card donation, or purchase and bring a new backpack that can be donated to kids in our area who need it here at the start of the school year. And that will get you your meet and greet with Trenton Simpson. That's simple. Just a donation. That's all you got to do. Take care of somebody who needs it, and you can meet Ravens linebacker Trenton Simpson, who's getting ready for a breakthrough season. That's this Saturday, 12 to 2 at Weis Markets in Havre Grace. So appreciate Trenton Simpson taking the time for us this morning. While you guys were listening to that, I was watching the volleyball. U.S. dramatic, win the first set, 25-23, unbelievable battle. And I turn up and look up, and they're down by 5 in the second set. I'm like, come on. Come on. I don't need this in my life right now. We were watching water polo before the show started today. I'm all in on water polo. I told you guys yesterday, the underwater camera in water polo is the most dangerous thing I've ever seen. Yesterday, I swear to God, during the U.S. match, which went to penalty throws or whatever, a shootout, whatever they call it, I saw, dude, his hand entirely inside the trunks of another player. They cut to the underwater camera, and whoever Kenny Albert's analyst is for the water polo coverage is, I swear, said, well, that's just getting good leverage.
Oh.
Is that what they call that? They're trying to end your life. Water polo's wild, man. I'm all in. I've got analysis. I've been doing breakdowns about water polo. I had never watched the sport, and I'm glued. I'd say I never actively watched the sport. I had been aware of its existence, and I've never watched it with the purpose of trying to figure it out. I don't know why they have the players along the baseline. They never draw enough attention to warrant that. I feel like they could cut it down to 4-on-4, and it would be more effective. Maybe a little more offense. Because those players on the baseline, you cannot possibly get a shooting angle from there. You can't. It's in water polo, you can't do it. There's not enough goal to work with in order to be able to find a shooting angle from there. And the defense knows that, so it's not like you really even draw the defense out far enough. This is me doing my big water. I know you guys tuned in today looking for the water polo analysis. You don't even really draw the defense out enough to make it worthwhile to then reset a pass up to the middle in order to score. So too many players on the field. They need to cut it down. I'm going to solve water polo. I'm going to make it everybody in America is going to be into water polo. Now, none of us are going to be capable of playing because we don't have that kind of cardio. Every time I watch it, I'm just stop. If you invited me to play a charity water polo game, if you said, Glenn, they used to have me do the charity halftime game with the Baltimore Blast. They'd be like, hey, come down, do the celebrity halftime game with the Baltimore Blast. It was Paul Rabel and then a bunch of people that were not celebrities. That was the way that it worked. But if somebody ever said we're gonna do a charity, a media celebrity water polo game, I'd say enjoy. I have no interest in perishing. I'll pass. You want to do it in the shallow end of the pool? I'll think about it. Still no promises, but I'll consider it. Not doing it. You got to keep treading water and try to play a sport? No. I could throw a football maybe once. But to keep doing it? Forget it. Not happening. All right. There's your water polo breakdown, man. It's good.
Glenn, you're always a celebrity to us, by the way.
No, I'm not. Stop it.
Yeah, you are.
It was always laughable. I would get the email from the person who was in charge at the time, hey, would you play in the celebrity halftime game? And I'd always be like, you mean the Radio Dopes halftime game? Because I'll do it. But I'm not comfortable with you using the word celebrity. Because it was, and God bless him, Paul Rabel would play. But that was the only celebrity that was involved.
All right, then I nominate Griffin then.
Yeah, you can go ahead. All right, when we come back in, we're going to keep talking Ravens. Jim Miller, former NFL quarterback, SiriusXM NFL Radio. He was out at camp yesterday. We'll talk to him about what he saw ahead of the Ravens' first preseason game Friday night against the Eagles. That's on the way. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Escape to Ocean City, Maryland, and discover a place that just feels lighter, where every day feels like Saturday, and French fries are a food group, where flip-flops are always in fashion, and seafood is always in season, where the boardwalk is bustling, and the beach is right outside your door, where you can rise with the tide and feel like a kid again. Ocean City, Maryland, somewhere to smile about. Book your trip at OCOcean.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, And fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Frederick Keys baseball is back. With 30 more home games beginning on July 2nd, the Keys are excited to welcome you back to Nimio Field at Harry Grove Stadium. We want to see you there. Countless promotions will be on display every game, with it ranging from Tap House Tuesdays to Firework Fridays and everything in between. For more information or to buy tickets, call 301-815-9939 or visit frederickkeys.com today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along. You said there was a question from the comments section?
Yeah, from Michael Johnson on Facebook. He asks, what's the shelf life on Mayo's call-up?
My gut is it would be based around the math of when you could protect his rookie status for next year. And I gotta remember. I think it's something like, what's the number of at-bats before rookie status is lost? That's the question. 130 at-bats. A player shall be considered rookie unless he has exceeded any of the following thresholds in a previous season: 130 at-bats or 50 innings pitched in the major leagues. So right now, Kobe Mayo is sitting at, look at me. I have the internet. I can look things up on the fly. Kobe Mayo is currently at 13. That's it. He's only at 13 at-bats. I would have thought he had more by this point.
Well, they've been pinch hitting him late in games,
yeah, I guess
too,
that's true. So he's at 13 at-bats. So it probably isn't that. Now that I see that it's only 13, it's probably not that. I don't think they let him get anywhere close to that.
Yeah, he won't get it this year.
If the defense continues like this. Well, there's another threshold, 130 at-bats, or there's a certain number of days. I'll tell you in 2 seconds. 45 total days on an active Major League roster during the championship season. So even if you try to sit him and only have him be like a late-inning pinch hitter, if he's on the team moving forward, he would count towards the days. So they're not going to let that get close, is what I would say. If it continues like this, it's not going to get close to that. Now, they don't have other good options. You're talking about, again, turning back to Levon Soto, Terran Vavra. Like, that's what you're looking at turning back to until Jordan Westberg is ready. That's part of the problem here. And it's why I think they'll give him a little bit more leash, like maybe another couple of weeks, but I think that's going to be about the line. They don't want to get anywhere close, particularly considering what happens if you get late into the year and you desperately need, someone to. He goes back, he starts hitting again at AAA. Their season ends. You want to buy yourself the opportunity that you could put him back on the team for like a week or two at the end of the year and still not hit that threshold. But I'm thinking another, maybe similar to the time that they gave Jackson Holliday at the beginning of the year. How many at-bats did he get? 32, 33, something like that Jackson Holliday had when he was first up?
I think it was near that or 36.
Might be right.
Let me check.
I would say probably in that range, a similar threshold for Kobe Mayo, with the bigger difference being if it continues to be this bad defensively, I don't know where those at-bats come from. I don't think last night we'll never put you at third base again, but you've got to be dramatically better or we can't keep doing this. The offense they think will work out.
36,
thank you. The offense they believe will work out with Kobe Mayo, but defensively, that cannot happen. And at the same time, they're trying to get away with Ryan O'Hearn in left field. It's very weird. Very weird. I think, did they give an answer about Cedric Mullins? Like, I understand, they've tried to reset Cedric Mullins a couple times this year, but he had been better of late, and it was 2 games against right-handers. I don't know what to make of that.
Why don't we just call Stevie Wilkerson again? I don't know.
That could be the answer. All right, let's get back into some football this morning. Our next guest was out in Owings Mills yesterday with SiriusXM NFL Radio, taking a look at the Baltimore Ravens. He is, of course, a former NFL quarterback. We don't like to talk about which team he was most prominently with. We pretend like it never happened. He is our friend Jim Miller, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Jim, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's always good to chat with you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
Yeah, you bet. Always good to be with you, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, dude. So, Jim, it's an interesting time, right? Because every time we do one of these like preseason conversations about the Ravens, yes, there are things that we can talk about, but we acknowledge that like the real story of the 2024 Ravens, we can't get the answer to that until the end of the year because every judgment of the Ravens is simply, is it finally going to be time for them to take the next step? So in keeping that in mind, what will you be watching for early on this year that might be capable of giving you some sort of answer as to whether or not this might be the year they can finally take the next step?
Yeah, I think for the Ravens, they just got to be true to who they are, and that's running the football. I thought they got away from it in the playoff loss to Kansas City. They only ran the ball, I think, 6 times the entire game, and Baltimore has been basically the league leader the last 6 years in running the football with how well they've done it. So that was surprising. But you kind of reinforce the run game by going out and getting Derrick Henry, and that kind of puts an exclamation point on it. I think they will. Todd Monken got the memo, and they're going to run the ball like they normally do.
Is it possible that the presence of Derrick Henry, not just for the, hey, we're not going to get away from running the ball, but because this is Derrick Henry that we're talking about. Like, I think the Ravens running backs were good enough to win a Super Bowl a year ago, but is it possible that his presence in January, that physical nature, could be the difference in beating a Patrick Mahomes team, in keeping the ball, in wearing them down, and trying to get to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, because he can carry the load. The last 6 years, nobody has rushed the ball better than Derrick Henry. He still, to this day, has the best yards per carry at 4.2. That's the last 6 years. 6 years, think of that. So, yeah, I think he's going to be a big part of it. And then, of course, you look at the other, obviously, when you look at Lamar, he's always loved Mark Andrews. And I think Isaiah Likely's really coming along in his NFL career. And Zay Flowers, what can you say, what he was able to accomplish? And Bateman, I was kind of surprised they re-upped him. I thought they would just give him the option, but they elected not to do it. But I think the weapons are around him. This is a good football team, but there are a lot of new faces there for the Ravens.
Let's talk about some of those. Jim Miller is with us here on GCR. Jim, I'll start on the offensive line, right? Because it's funny, every time I've talked to, and I mean the conversations I have on my show, the conversations I have privately with folks in the NFL, every time I bring up hey, is it crazy that the Ravens are turning over 3/5 of their starting offensive line, I get back almost 100% of the responses have been, yeah, but it's the Ravens. I think they'll be okay. Like something along those lines is largely the response I get back. Are we too dismissive of how wild it is for a good football team to be turning over such a significant amount of their offensive line in one offseason?
Yeah, not to mention Ronnie Stanley took a pay cut. Right? I mean, just due to durability issues.
And it has been a significant injury risk, correct?
Yeah, well, I mean, it almost looked like Baltimore was kind of rotating tackles. And actually, Steve Bisciotti kind of said that to us, that, this is a position, you always want offensive linemen to have continuity, and they were basically, had rotating tackles that were in there. So they go out, they draft Rosengarten from Washington. I like this player. Now whether he's able to capture that right tackle job, we will see. Because like you said, when you lose Big John Simpson, Morgan Moses, and Stanley really hasn't been healthy, that's going to be something to watch. But Derrick Henry, I think we know, when he gets bottled up, he certainly is able to get back to the line of scrimmage. But we'll have to see how that group comes together for the Ravens. There's some good battles up there.
What are your expectations for the change in offensive coordinators, right? Like Mike McDonald was so creative and scheme pressure up, and given the fact that the Ravens don't have Kyle Van Noy obviously was a bit of a revelation a year ago and maybe still has another big season in him, and Justin Madubuike was masterful, but they don't have Terrell Suggs, right? Like they don't have TJ Watt. They don't have, you insert name here. A lot of that was related to scheme. What does your gut tell you about what this looks like in the first year under Zach Orr?
No, you're right. For the Ravens, who had 60 sacks last year, if you go look at their sack totals, 16 of those sacks are through secondary players, whether it's blitzing Kyle Hamilton or the corners
Arthur
or
Millette
whoever.
of all people, right?
Yeah, and he goes down to injury yesterday. So we'll have to see how, for Zach Orr, every play caller is going to have their flavor. But I think we know last year from McDonald, he brought a lot of secondary players, whether it's Roquan Smith or Patrick Queen. Now this year it'll be Simpson who's in there for Queen. But it was a lot of linebackers and secondary blitzers that were able to dial up that pass rush. And we'll have to see how aggressive Zach Orr is as the season goes along.
We mentioned Arthur Millette, and obviously that's very disappointing that he's going to miss. It looks like not a significant amount of time, but certainly regular season time. That said, there's been a lot made about the depth of the Ravens in the secondary. Nate Wiggins was their first-round pick, and not for any nobody's down on what Nate Wiggins has been doing. It's just that everyone else has looked so good that we weren't even really talking about the idea of Nate Wiggins needing to be on the field significantly early on. How comfortable are you, especially adding Eddie Jackson, allowing Kyle Hamilton to be used as more of that jack of all trades, that Swiss Army knife? How comfortable are you with the Ravens' depth in the secondary for being able to, absorb the loss of an Arthur Millette?
Yeah, I think they'll be able to do it. John Harbaugh talked glowingly about Nate Wiggins. So this guy's a blazer. He's got good speed. I do think you're right. We'll have to see how quickly he's able to come along, because the injury to Arthur Millette, who primarily is a nickelback, that could affect now where Kyle Hamilton lines up. Is he going to be more of a nickel? Do they want to put him in the middle of the field like a free safety? Do they want to put him up in the box because he's such an aggressive player? I mean, he led your team in tackles for loss, believe it or not, when you look at Kyle Hamilton. And certainly Arthur Millette is going to be key who can step up because that nickelback role is going to be a big role for the Ravens.
Jim, let me present it to you this way. A lot made about the fact that Joe Burrow's healthy again. That's the Bengals. The Steelers, I know we're still waiting on what happens with Brandon Ayuk and how that could be an impact. And I'll tell you, Jim, I'm a Justin Fields truther. Like, I believe there's still something there that if they go to him at some point that he could be special. Who should be considered the favorite going into the year in the AFC North?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I do like how the Steelers are built. I do like Omar Khan, I think, has been very aggressive as a general manager. They've addressed their offensive line. They're being aggressive via trades, whether it's with Ayuk, but he's made calls to trying to acquire Cortland Sutton. That deal did not go through with the Denver Broncos, but Russell played with Cortland last year. That's why Omar has placed those calls. But defensively, Steelers have a lot of blue chip players. When you look at TJ Watt and a healthy Minkah Fitzpatrick, and for them, it's about offensive accountability. I mean, we can argue whether Myles Garrett earned that Defensive Player of the Year, but all I know is TJ Watt had 19 sacks. He did have more, it caused more problems than what Myles Garrett did, but that is just probably the most difficult division in football is the AFC North.
It doesn't sound like you're comfortable saying anybody is the specific favorite.
No, because I think what's going to happen is, I think we know, even Pittsburgh, when do they start their division games? I think it's week 12. That's what normally happens in the AFC North. If you're, your health at that period of time, that stretch, that 4-week stretch for the Steelers is going to be crucial, because of all their in-season or division games are at the end of the year. So really timing is going to be everything for a lot of those teams.
What is your if the Ravens aren't able to do it again this year, if they do fall short, what is your gut tell you, aside from health, right? Because that's always the if your quarterback doesn't last the season, it's not happening. That's just the way that it goes. But short of that, what to you would be the biggest reason why you would fear they might not be able to make that jump?
Well, yeah, it's their postseason funk.
Yeah.
Just look at the Ravens scoring. The Ravens, I think it's since 2019. Granted, you've been to the playoffs 5 out of the last 6 years for the Ravens, but go look at your scoring. You're only averaging 16 points a game postseason, when in regular season you're averaging over 28 points a game. So what gives there? And I do believe for last year, for me, it was the lack of not running the football.
No
they
doubt.
should have ran the football.
Jim, we're totally over it. We're not thinking about it whatsoever at this point.
Yeah.
We're totally good with it. No, you're 100% correct about that. I do want to ask you, because you've been doing making all these stops and going to every city, what is largely the response been to the kickoff? Because I feel like it's getting a lot of attention right now, and I wonder if, much like when they moved the extra point back, by like September, it's just sort of going to be part of the furniture. It's not going to have changed football all that dramatically, and we're going to have stopped talking about it by then.
Yeah, I think for the fan, I think Sean Payton made a good point that the fans, do they even know the play?
Yeah.
I mean, the ball could line up on the 40, it could be on the 20, it could be on, the 30. So, the fans need to get to know this play, because the outcome could be changed drastically. I don't even think the coaches that I've talked to, even the special teams coaches, understand how this is going to play out. They think, I've had one special teams coach tell me that he thinks it could be the most dangerous play in football.
Wow.
Because they're talking about a kick that's called a dirty ball, where it's a line drive
Right.
and lands in that landing zone, and it's bouncing around like
you
a
want to
popcorn.
go get it, yeah.
Yeah, so it could become like a scrum play. Almost like when we were in elementary school at recess and you went out and you played jam pile. It could be something like that. But it's definitely going to be interesting. Probably it's going to take about a month of the year for it to play out, and then those special teams coaches will be very creative with what they can do. I think it's going to be a very explosive play.
I've had two thoughts. The first being, because I've talked to a bunch of special teams guys about it that have said, I think that after this year, if it continues, we're going to need to up the roster by 2 guys, because we're going to need some more leverage and less speed specifically for those plays, and we're not going to want to use our starting outside linebackers or tight ends in order to do that. So we might need a little bit more. And then the other one that I has been floating around is, at what point do you just sort of say, hey, just go ahead and kick it. We'll deal with defending from the 30. It's not the end of the world. Just go kick it out. We don't want to get involved with any of this. Just go kick it out of the end zone anyway.
And that may be the case. Pat Kerwin, my partner on Moving the Chains, he's talked to Bill Cowher, and Bill Cowher said the same thing. He goes, I tell my special teams coach, I let all my coaches prepare for it and let him show me what he's got, and then the first game of the year, I'm kicking it through the end zone for a touchback.
Just deal with it
until he proves to me that he can cover.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought, and I don't know what to do. Jim, last one. Obviously, the other thing that's been a big topic has been the 18-game schedule. Where are you now that it definitely feels like we are at the point of it's when, not if. Where are you with how this looks, how it works in order to get it done?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it. So just eliminate, and I'm fine with eliminating the entire preseason. College football, they don't do any warm-up games. They just go right into the season. So I do think that'll be a bargaining chip that the NFLPA can use against the NFL, whether they agree to 2 preseason games or none. Just go to a 20-game season, essentially, and then, or 18-game season, and then have 2 bye weeks. I think the players are on board for that, and they'd get 1 extra game check.
At Jim Miller _NFL is how you follow him. Jim, where are you guys headed next?
I will call the Bears versus the Buffalo Bills on Saturday, and then we will be off to the Atlanta Falcons.
Is that you and my buddy Adam Amin together?
Yeah, Adams, man. He calls a great game, man.
That's a great booth, man. And not to take anything away from Jerry and Rod here, but that is a great booth. I love that. That's awesome. Jim, enjoy it, man. Always appreciate you taking the time for us. Look forward to chatting with you during the season. Thanks so much for doing this morning.
Okay, thank you. Good to be with you.
Jim Miller, former NFL quarterback. I hate it. I was somebody brought this up to me, and I apologize not remembering. Is that, I think I addressed it last week. Is do you just not feel like you have the juice? And I said, well, part of it is because the Orioles are good, and we're so zeroed in on the Orioles right now that like it's just harder for me to spend time on preseason football. I don't like preseason football ever, but particular. But the other part of it is because we're dealing with what we're dealing with. Femi and I were talking about it the other night on the radio show. The things that the question that faces the 2024 Baltimore Ravens. These other things are interesting, but none of them are panic-inducing. The question that faces the Baltimore Ravens is, can you get over the hump in the playoffs? And there's no way for us to gather information about that until the playoffs. Because the thing you say, hey, what could you see during the regular season that would tell you they're better prepared for it? The answer would be the stuff they did last year during the regular season when they were, the best team in football. Which doesn't mean, and again, somebody would say, well, they might not get there. Well, that means something terribly wrong has happened. And I don't think you, in doing preview work, prepare for if something goes terribly wrong. That can always happen. That's always possible. And you deal with it if it does. And the question's like, hey, if it were to go wrong in the playoffs again, then do you have to think about whether or not there's some sort of curse and you just need to – it's the Andy Reid situation in Philadelphia where he's a hell of a coach, but you just need to change it anyway because the playoff thing is such a boondoggle that you got to do something else. Maybe you guys, of course, have wanted to do that for – some of you guys have wanted to do that every year for the last decade. I don't know. My gut is probably not. That's not really how the Ravens operate, so I'd be surprised if that was their thought process. But that's the reality. The reality is everything related to the Ravens, and these other questions are interesting, like what does the offensive line look like? But again, I'm not panicked about it. I do think replacing Kevin Zeitler uniquely is the one. And we'll see. Maybe that will prove to be, early in the season, the biggest issue. And what harms them significantly is the dramatic turnaround, overhaul of an offensive line. Losing Jadeveon Clowney and Mike McDonald, and do they have enough edge rush? And will one of Odafe Owe or David Ajabo finally step up and be impactful in that department? Dafe always been a nice football player, but he hasn't been the guy they've needed him to be in terms of getting quarterbacks on the ground. These are all relevant questions. But none of them appear to be the difference in whether or not they'll be a good football team. And the real question seems to be what happens once you get to the playoffs. Today's show brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. They are proud sponsors of County Sports Zone. CountySports.zone. High school sports season is about to get underway. We're just a couple of weeks away from it. And when it does, you're going to get all of the updates. Every score, every sport, every region of the state. Eastern Shore, Western Maryland, city, counties, Southern Maryland. Everywhere, the DMV counties, all of them will be available for you at CountySports.zone, which again is proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Let's switch gears. Every week we make a trip to Bowie to chat with a member of the Baysox, and this week there's a new member of the Baysox. As with the Orioles making about 1 billion moves at the trade deadline, you might have missed this, but they shipped Billy Cook to Pittsburgh to acquire pitcher Patrick Reilly. And Patrick Reilly is with us this morning here on GCR. Patrick, first of all, is it Patrick or Pat? Which way should I go?
So
I prefer Pat. The only
Okay.
person that really calls me Patrick anymore is my mother.
All right, then I certainly am not in that category. I will not go that route. Pat, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Of course.
Pat,
I'm happy to be here.
Walk me through. I got to imagine it's a little shocking, right? I know everybody at this level of baseball is going through this around the deadline. Hey, what's going to happen? Could I be? But what is your reaction? Because I feel like there's that disappointment, but at the same time, there's another organization that wanted you, like sought you out specifically. How do you go through like that range of emotions in the course of a few days?
Well, at first, I would say the first couple hours immediately after the phone call is a little bit of shock. And then it's a little bit of panic because you realize you have a lot to do in about 24 hours to get situated and get over to the new team. But after that, it was as soon as I got over here to Bowie, it was all just trying to get settled in, trying to understand the organization, trying to understand the philosophy, and then just get comfortable with the guys, the coaching staff, and kind of the philosophy, like I said.
Do you go through any like, hey, I just like to talk to somebody and ask why me? Like, as far as the Orioles, again, from the positive side of like, wow, you guys know about me, you wanted me. Do you have any of that feeling like, hey, I just like to know, like, what do you guys think about me? Why'd you want me to come over here?
Well, yeah, I would, and that's obviously something for some people that make more of the decisions.
Sure.
But as far as the actual baseball aspect of it, it's less of that and more of how can I put myself in the best position to compete and develop and keep going, like you said. Yeah,
I completely get that. He's Pat Reilly, not the basketball Pat Reilly, the baseball Pat Reilly, and he is with us here on GCR. Pat, in diving through the season you put together, I know there were a couple of rough starts at the beginning of the year, but it really seems like after that you settled in quite nicely. How good have you been feeling about your direction, particularly this season?
I feel great, and I think a lot of it is comfortability on the mound and being able to go out there every 6th day and use the entire arsenal, get through a lineup 2 or 3 times, and then to kind of just discover myself and get more comfortable on the mound, going through different pitches in the arsenal, attacking hitters in different ways, and being more efficient overall.
What is it that you have been working on arsenal-wise this season? Like, I guess let's walk me through a couple things. One, how many pitches have you typically thrown, and did you introduce anything new during the course of this year?
Yeah, so in the offseason, I changed from a traditional changeup to a splitter.
Okay.
Which complements the way I throw the ball a little bit more. So that usage has kind of ticked up throughout the year, and using that more, understanding that it's a really good pitch to both lefties and righties, and kind of introducing that. And then I went from a harder, tighter slider to a bigger, more sweepy one that's a little bit slower and a little bit more different from the rest I have in the arsenal. So those two are new, and I still have my 4-seam fastball and cutter that are relatively a little bit harder than the rest. So I kind of, the sweeper, the slower sweepy slider has helped me kind of pitch front to back rather than up and down or side to side, because it's a little bit slower. It's around that 80-mile-an-hour mark, and most of everything I have is in that 88 to 90 range, and then the fastball is 93 to 95.
I asked, we're chatting with Pat Reilly. I asked this because I know it's different for everybody. Has any of what you've done this season been about like, hey, I want to throw this pitch a little bit more, particularly, one of those new ones in a certain game, and maybe not always in a circumstance that I would use them if we were at like the major league level? Or is it still about learning sequencing, learning where and figuring out how comfortable you are with throwing pitches in certain spots and trying to replicate what it will be as you continue to move forward?
Well, in the crash course I've gotten in the last week, it's become, we want you to throw your best pitches more often.
Okay.
So at times you get so focused and caught up in winning and getting super positive results. But what I've realized, especially with some new philosophy, is that this is the best opportunity to throw your best pitches in different counts and receive the feedback that you want to get now and maybe not at the major league level. You have that opportunity to develop and throw your best stuff now to kind of experience like and get comfortable throwing it in, say, a 2-0 count that you wouldn't throw in the past.
This is actually really interesting to me because my next question for you was going to be, hey, what did they tell you when you came over? But that's kind of fascinating. You make your first start. Is it at all foreign to you? Like, did you have to remind yourself, like, hey, don't do this? I'm not supposed to do this right here. Did you have to battle through any of that? It was obviously very effective, but was that weird to you when you made your first appearance?
Yeah, the first start was me just getting comfortable with new catcher, getting comfortable with new staff, new place, new mound, all of that. So I think going into this next week and this work week, it's been a little bit more development focused. Hey, we can use this in this count. We can throw these to this hitter, stuff like that. I thought the first outing was more just get comfortable, get through the lineup a couple times, throw your stuff, feel comfortable, and then kind of attack the next week with a little bit more goal oriented.
And I guess I should put it the other way because I think I said the word start. I know you weren't the first pitcher used that day. Was part of the conversation with the Orioles that they still see you as a starter that's just not, like and I know having talked to other guys, they don't always do things a certain way. Sometimes they just use guys out of the bullpen that are still starters to them.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of got in trouble with a little bit of a rain delay suspension last Saturday. So I think, slated to start the Sunday game, but with the rain delay and the starting of the game that we started on Saturday going on Sunday, they told me that I was just going to start the continuation of the game.
Okay, got it. So the point is they definitely definitively still want you to be a starter.
Correct.
Okay, and that obviously is something that I know, given all the work that you've been doing, the progress that you've made, that's got to be really important. Pat, walk me through, again, as you come over, because I think what you just said about getting to know a catcher, and Sam wasn't the one that caught in the game that you pitched, correct?
Silas was.
Silas was the catcher for that game. How important is that? Because it's something that we saw at the major league level where, like, Trevor Rogers showed up for his first start. He hadn't met Adley Rutschman until 3 hours before he made his first start with the Baltimore Orioles. How important is that relationship and getting to know those guys? And I'm sure you're going to be working with Samuel a lot more moving forward. How important is that, and how much time have you been spending with those guys over the last couple of days?
I've got to spend a lot of time with all three of the guys we have on the roster right now. And it's more than just creating a personal connection. You also have to have that experience of them understanding your arsenal, how it moves, what you're comfortable with, and obviously being on the same page with your attack plan.
100%. And that's something that I imagine is still going to only have to grow. And maybe is that part of the nice part about coming over here now is that you have, a month, the better part of maybe 2 months to work on that this season before wherever you're going to be next year.
Yeah, that's definitely a big thing. And we have an opportunity over the next, I think it's 6 weeks to really get comfortable, really experiment a little bit, but also get comfortable and continue the success that we've already had.
Yeah, no, I think that's incredible. It's very important. All right, he's Pat Reilly, the Bowie Baysox. He's with us here on GCR. The Baysox are home this week. Tonight, weather permitting, they are playing once again as Cangrejos Fantasmas de Chesapeake, which is one of my favorite things they do all year. Also this weekend, Fireworks Night and Grateful Dead Night tomorrow. Fireworks again on Saturday. And my kids' favorite promotion of the year, the Touch a Truck event before the game, where they just bring out a ton of different work trucks. And if you think you've seen Joy before, bring your small children out and just tell them they can go climb on a bunch of trucks before a baseball game and they can pull the horns down. I have seen my kids smile in their lives. Very few times have those smiles been bigger than when I brought them to Touch a Truck Night with the Bowie Baysox. That's this Saturday. You can go to Baysox.com in order to get information about all of that. Pat, I need to know, away from baseball, what are you all about? Like, take me through when the season ends, when you get to go get a rest. Like, what does life look like for Pat Reilly?
I'm from not too far away. I grew up on the Jersey Shore, so I am familiar with the area. As soon as the season ends, I will obviously talk to the Orioles and figure out the plan as to throwing and workouts and stuff like that. But in the immediate, when I'm shut down, I will be playing a lot of golf. I have a couple weddings of some close buddies that I'll be going to. and really just enjoying time with my family and the dogs and whatever I can to kind of de-stress from a long season.
You have not had the opportunity to go out and play golf with any of the guys yet on the team, have you?
I did, actually.
Okay.
We went out on Monday, right when T.T. Bowens actually got promoted to Norfolk, so that was fun to be on the course when he got that call.
That's neat. That's neat. So I'm going to have to learn. The next time we talk, we got to figure out. I always try to get the scoop out of who's like legit and who just thinks they're legit and is an easy mark to take money off of. But I'll let you go out and play with some more of the guys before we have that conversation. And I know he's not at Bowie yet, but I would assume that you would have like a relationship with Enrique Bradfield, right?
Yes, correct. Enrique and I have been talking all week. He was one of the first people to call me after the official trade news came out last week. So I'm excited for him, hopefully to get up here relatively soon and to spend some more time with him.
The Vandy boys back together. That is very, very cool. Pat, I was searching for you on social media. Are you on Twitter or Instagram, anything like that, where we can have Orioles fans give you a follow?
I'm on Instagram. I am no longer on Twitter. I deleted that.
Good for you.
Yes, sometime in college. I try to spend as least amount of time as possible on my phone. But I am on Instagram. It's at Pat Reilly with 2 Y's at the end.
Pat Reilly with 2 Y's at the end if you want to give him a follow on Instagram. Pat, welcome to town, man. Excited and like what we've seen so far and really can't wait to see how you continue to progress in this organization and looking forward to having more conversations with you. Enjoyed doing this morning. Appreciate you taking the time for us.
Yep. Thank you very much, Glenn. I appreciate it.
Pat Reilly with the Bowie Baysox right now. Of course, came over from the Pittsburgh Pirates last week in a trade for Billy Cook, outfield prospect. And as the Orioles lost Seth Johnson and Justin Armbruster at the deadline, they're hoping that Pat Reilly can be someone that can help make up for some of the pitching prospects that they lost over the course of the last 10 days. You have something that you wanted to?
I was just gonna say I'm impressed with Reilly. I know he said he pitched on Sunday. He did 3 1/3 innings, 5 strikeouts, no runs, 2 hits, 2 walks, but good start.
Yeah,
he looks impressive.
It's a good start, and he is certainly the numbers on the whole for the season don't jump off the page at you.
Right.
But then you go back and you dive in and you see there were a couple of shaky starts earlier on in the year. I think since like at the start of June, there's really only been one iffy start that he's had. A lot of people that are in that world say that like the stuff is good.
He'll strike out, yeah.
And like part of the problem, and I've had this conversation with a few people. Seth Johnson was viewed as the Orioles' number 3 starting pitching prospect. And so, yes, the struggles of Gregory Soto have made that look ugly. But as a lot of people tell you, like, yeah, he's listed that way, but that's really their way of saying the Orioles don't have high level. And when I mean high level, I mean like in the higher levels of the minors, legitimate pitching prospects. As we've seen, it's been a struggle for Cade Povich. It was a struggle for Chase McDermott. Now he's hurt and not even an option for a little bit. Like that's what they're really. Is that the Orioles don't have any studs at the high level. They're starting to see some of the international signings pay off in the lower levels, and they're starting to be. It's totally possible that, if those guys were 2 years older, that McDermott, Povich, and Johnson would not have been the Orioles' top pitching prospects, that some of these guys that are coming through now would have moved ahead of them. But they've got to find pitching. Like, they desperately have to find guys that they can bring through and be helpful. And to be fair, they did that with Kyle Bradish. I know that he wasn't their draft pick. He was a trade, much like Reilly, but they did that. And he became a extraordinarily high-level major league arm. And you hope will be again after he returns. But that's starting to be the list. Tyler Wells for a little bit looked like a quality major league arm, but that kind of, I still think that he's a quality major league reliever, Tyler Wells, but I don't think he's a quality major league. It's hard to see that path for him. Is it maybe somewhere else? Like he could become that guy? I don't know, but after an injury, it's just hard for me to see the path of him being a quality major league starter at any point.
Well, now you need guys that need innings, and he never really ate a ton of innings to begin with, and now that he's hurt, that's probably not going to happen.
Well, and just it was going to be a difficult path for him to be in the rotation. Now, given the number of injuries they had, if he had stayed healthy, he very well could have been given the opportunity.
He definitely would have been
to prove himself again in the rotation. But they need to find a few more of these guys they can turn into legitimate major league arms. And hopefully Pat Reilly can be part of that conversation and part of that solution. I appreciate him taking the time for us this morning. All right, if you haven't picked up this print issue of Press Box, you are running out of time. By this time next week, it's gone forever. So go get it now. Wes Moore's on the cover, the governor of Maryland, sports conversation with the governor, travel issue. Go get that now at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. And if you don't, you're going to be sorry, because you will be out of time by next week to get this print issue of Press Box, although you can always read it at PressBoxOnline.com. God, I love the celebrations in volleyball. Like, they love to hug, man. There's so much hugging.
Oh, they get fired up.
There's so much joy. There's screaming.
Yes, screaming. Screaming's a big one.
Leapfrog. I love all of it. Wish I was tall or athletic or any of those things. Was never the case. It was never going to happen for your boy. All right, still to come this morning, we're going to chat with one of the budding superstars in all of lacrosse, Izzy Scane, the two-time Tewaaraton Award winner, ahead of the final weekend for Athletes Unlimited Lacrosse out in Sparks. That's on the way as we continue along a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Frederick Keys baseball is back. With 30 more home games beginning on July 2nd, the Keys are excited to welcome you back to Nimio Field at Harry Grove Stadium. We want to see you there. Countless promotions will be on display every game, with it ranging from Tap House Tuesdays to Firework Fridays and everything in between. For more information or to buy tickets, call 301-815-9939 or visit frederickkeys.com today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
Hagerstown, Maryland, a snapshot of American history that dates back centuries. Today, the roots of the city expand with another historical moment, the grand opening of Meredith Park, Hagerstown's new event stadium and home to the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Experience the energy, culture, and adventure. Plan your getaway today at America's newest and most innovative ballpark. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland. Visit Hagerstown.com.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with two sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
There he is, Agent 00 Chicken. Nothing can keep him from Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. Because right now, he can get a 3-piece world-famous chicken box for just $8, with a portion of each sale donated to a local charity. Plus, register to win world-famous chicken for a year. Come to Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. It's a real thriller, but it's only for a limited time. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Escape to Ocean City, Maryland, and discover a place that just feels lighter, where every day feels like Saturday and French fries are a food group, where flip-flops are always in fashion and seafood is always in season, where the boardwalk is bustling and the beach is right outside your door, where you can rise with the tide and feel like a kid again. Ocean City, Maryland, somewhere to smile about. Book your trip at OCOcean.com.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
Back in here on GCR. It's backup Garrett today. It's other Garrett, as we call him. Grant, of course, is in.
I've been called Garrett before.
I'm sure you have. I'm sure that.
So, hey, close enough.
There you go. It starts with a G. That's all you can ask for, I think. You can probably ask him to get your name right. All right, it is a Thursday edition of GCR. We also had to do this a little bit earlier on because of their schedule, getting ready for their, again, weather permit. Is it supposed to keep raining all day? Is that?
Yeah. Today, tomorrow, we're clear on Saturday.
Doesn't really matter because the Orioles are away for that.
Yeah.
But it's just unpleasant.
That's why I went to Bowie last night because I knew today was going to be that.
Yeah, it doesn't look great, right? Does not look great.
No.
But they're going to play lacrosse. As long as it's not thunderstorming, as long as there's no lightning, they'll be playing lacrosse out in Sparks. We had to do this a little bit earlier on, opportunity to catch up with one of the rising stars in the sport, Izzy Scane, here on GCR. For the last few weeks, Athletes Unlimited Lacrosse has been going on out in Sparks at USA Lacrosse headquarters, and it's the final week. Our next guest she's got to make up some points here this week to get back towards the top of the leaderboard, but it's a pleasure to welcome in one of the greatest players in college lacrosse history, the all-time leading goal scorer, two-time Tewaaraton Award winner, national champion. Other than that, I can't think of anything else for Izzy Scane, who's with us now here on GCR. Izzy, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, Izzy. All right, so how do you get back, I think 500 points? How do you crawl back into that this weekend, dig out of this, and come out on top?
Yeah, so my brother's wedding was this weekend, so I knew I'd have a little ground to pick up on when I got back. But I think this league is so awesome in that way. I mean, you've seen players go in, not that I'm on the level of Sam Puzo, but went in and scored, I don't know how many points it was, the most points in one game in A pro history. So stuff like that happens. I mean, if you get on the right team and you guys are able to win and get the ball in the back of the cage or do some stuff for your team, pretty easy for the points to kind of add back up. But I think main thing is just hoping that your team can come out with wins and kind of just put them in the best position to be successful. And I mean, like you said, it's the last weekend, so I hope to just enjoy it and just enjoy that high level of lacrosse, and we'll see where the points end up after that.
So the experience for you, right? Everybody knows how good of a player you are. That's obvious. To get to this level, to know this is your future, this is who you're competing against, not, just with Athletes Unlimited Lacrosse, but, for spots on the national team and other goals like that. How fulfilling has it been spending this summer, and how good do you feel about your place competing against the other best players in the world?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think the level of lacrosse that's just being played at all points in time is a really cool thing to be a part of. And I think being able to play against just the best of the best consistently. I mean, college is a little different because you stay with the same team your entire time and you just become best friends and so used to playing with certain people. So to be thrown in an environment where every week you're playing with a different girl that was the best player at their college as well, and some of which you played against in college and others that you either watched or just know who they are. And it's a really cool thing to be a part of and a really cool way to kind of test out your skill level, test out how you're able to work with different players and different styles and on offense, with people, and then also playing against different defenses and goalies. And it's cool. I think I feel great. I think it's been easy for the rookies to kind of slide right in because everyone's been so welcoming and just wants the best for everyone. And it's been a really fun version of lacrosse to be a part of. So yeah, I feel great about it. And it's exciting to know that the people I'm surrounded by now will kind of continue to be around me in the future, whether it be with the pro league or with national teams and stuff like that. So it's a cool thing.
She's Izzy Scane, of course, former Northwestern superstar. She's now with Athletes Unlimited Lacrosse. Still one more weekend tonight, this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, chance for you to get out the USA Lacrosse in Sparks and check it out. All right, so Izzy, let me go backwards with you for a second. When was the first time in your life that it hit you oh, I'm really good at this. I'm better. I'm not just having fun. I'm better than everybody else.
I don't know if I ever really came to that realization necessarily. I think I grew up in Michigan and lacrosse it's getting there, and in the Midwest it's continuing to grow. But at least when I was younger, lacrosse was just not a big thing in Michigan. So I think for that reason, I never was like, oh wow, like I'm good because I could beat people in Michigan, just because of I knew like East Coast is really where lacrosse thrives. And I think as I got a little bit older and as I got closer to college, just playing around girls who've been playing since they were like 2 years old on the East Coast and like Long Island in Maryland, and kind of being able to hold my own was a cool thing, because that's always a worry, like, is it going to translate over? And
Sure.
did well in high school, obviously, but that's Michigan high school. So you always have that thought in the back of your head.
The Michigan lacrosse community is not going to love this. Like,
no, it's great now. And it's so cool to see how much it's grown. Like it actually, like within my lacrosse time, it has grown so drastically. And it's such a cool thing to see. And I'm happy to like be any part of that. But at the time I was just like, we'll see if that like completely translates to getting to college and just playing against girls who literally picked up the stick when they were born, which is just not the case where I'm from. And for that to kind of happen my freshman year, getting into Northwestern and having success as a freshman on the defensive end and then moving up to attack was kind of a good like moment of like, okay, you're here, you're in that group of girls that are good and can play this high level of lacrosse. But yeah, it took a bit. I think you always worry just because not coming from a super traditional area. Yeah.
We like to think that all of the best players are in our backyard here, but yeah, like players like you kind of remind us that, yeah, the game has grown. Like that's the way that it's worked. Speaking of growing the game, I know so much has been made, and I did the World Championships for ESPN a couple summers ago about that still has to be, as much as you're trying to compete against there is still a level of, but we're also competing together to try to get more and more people to get to the game. How much of that, given all of the success that you found, your nature as a superstar, how much of that have you kind of put on yourself? Like, hey, I've got to be a part of that. I've got to help continue to grow the game. You know, you reference like you're from a part of the world where maybe it's not the biggest sport. How much of that have you felt these last couple of years?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a cool position to be in. I mean, it's very humbling to be like a type of person that could try to impact the game in that way. And I think I take a lot of pride coming from Michigan, coming from the Midwest, and I'm just always constantly trying to get back in those areas and coach and grow the game and make it well known that I'm from Michigan, just so that kids in those areas can see what players can do given just like the right amount of effort and getting exposed to the right things. So I think I definitely take a lot of pride in trying to continue to grow to areas in the country that are not necessarily the biggest lacrosse spots. I mean, being at Northwestern, Kelly Amonte recruits kids from everywhere. We have kids from all over the country, which is a really cool thing. And I think stuff like that is just great to see. Like, you just need to see people in positions of like social media and higher positions that are from those areas. Like, representation is such a huge thing. If I hadn't seen girls in the Midwest at Northwestern doing what they were doing, I wouldn't have known like that's a possibility for me. And then even just continuing internationally, I think with lacrosse getting into the Olympics, it's a really huge focal point for the U.S. right now to just try to continue to push to grow the game as much as possible, not just within the country, but also internationally. And I think stuff like this is a cool way to kind of just continue to give representation and show, doesn't matter necessarily where you're from or the lacrosse you're exposed to, but just the amount of effort and love you have for the game can kind of continue to just grow it in that way, which is, it's a cool thing to see. And I think we've seen it over the last couple of years, just steamrolling through. But I think there's obviously a lot more work to do.
AUProsports.com is the website. Athletes Unlimited Lacrosse continues. Final weekend this weekend out in Sparks. Izzy Scane is with us on GCR. Izzy, you brought up the Olympics, so let me go there next, right? Like, how much sixes have you been playing? How much is that on your radar? Is it difficult to, focus on multiple different things at once? Is it a priority for you right now? Like, I want to be on that first Olympic team. I need to make that happen for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a goal. It's just such a cool opportunity. I was talking about how we didn't even know the pro league was going to be an option. Like, there was no pro women's lacrosse up until really recently. So there are all these dreams that you never thought were going to be options. And now lacrosse is in the Olympics. Like, that was never part of the end goal, was go to the Olympics, because lacrosse obviously hadn't been into it until really recently. So it's definitely a very exciting idea. I think I want the U.S. to put the best team possible forward. And obviously I'm going to be a couple years out of college at that point. And if I'm not the best of the best at that point, that's one thing. But I hope I can stay in the game long enough and just continue to grow as a player as much as possible and be able to be a part of something like that. I think that would be a really, really cool opportunity. Yeah, I think it's super exciting. I think sixes it's definitely a different game, but at the same time, it's lacrosse is lacrosse.
Mm-hmm.
being an attacker in college, I obviously wasn't getting my D reps in and having to jump in. We did a training session this summer with the Sixes squad, and we had a lot of attackers that had to jump in on defense for the first time since high school. And it's cool to see, but it's still lacrosse, and it's still such a fun way to play, and it's so high speed. And yeah, I love it. It's been really fun. It's not necessarily challenging balancing two different forms of the game, more just exciting to kind of have to adjust accordingly as you're playing with different groups.
Has it added any sort of like subplot to the pro season? Like, has it added any more like additional level of competition? Like, yo, we are all trying to be on this, like, this is a pioneer type of thing that we're talking about, right? Has it added a little bit more to that, like a little bit more juice of we need to prove ourselves because this thing is going to start coming into fruition in the next couple of years?
I think definitely. I think anyone that makes it to like this level of a sport is pretty competitive, and you can be sure that it's going to be in the back of their head in terms of wanting to be the best of the best and wanting to be considered for a team like that. And it definitely is on a lot of people's mind. I think in a good way. I think it's just pushing people to try to play the best version of lacrosse that they can. Kind of gives something to like look forward to and continue to not just be satisfied with the level of lacrosse you're playing now, but just continue to grow as players and as people. And yeah, I think I wouldn't say it's like anything that's verbalized or competitive, but I think everyone is just super, super excited for that to be even an opportunity to, in the future, hopefully get invited to try to be a part of something like that. And a league like this just allows you to kind of continue to grow as a player. Like you'd think you'd be the player you are once college is over, but stuff like this allows you to just build more and more. I'm sure everyone's taking that opportunity to just try to be the best version of themselves as a player as they can be, it's been cool to see.
All right. Before we let you go, Izzy, the player that you had never maybe gone up against before, that it's been like the most fun matchup that you've had during the course of Athletes Unlimited has been who?
Ooh. I'd say I played against Sam Apuzzo, but it was like my freshman year of college.
Sure.
So I wasn't quite the player I am now. And she's just such an incredible, like, all-around player. I think it was really cool to play with her. I was on her team for a week, and just playing with someone that's that level of a lacrosse player is such a fun thing to, like, just enjoy being
she's
on her
okay.
team. Playing it's not as fun because, like, the game is never, ever over when someone like that's on the other team. And she's definitely just such a fierce competitor and just so incredible at the sport, not just one-dimensionally, but, like, dodger, feeder, draw taker, everything. And she just completely changes the game. So being able to kind of play with and against her since being here has been a really cool experience. She's awesome.
It's awesome. All right, Izzy, where can everybody be following you, social media?
I have an Instagram. It's IRScane18, and then my website's kind of linked in the Instagram, and just follow along with the AU Pro Lacrosse Instagram as well. You'll be able to see me there.
And, of course, auprosports.com. But tonight, Saturday, and Sunday, final weekend to get out to USA Lacrosse in Sparks and check out Athletes Unlimited. Izzy, it really is a joy to watch you play the game. You're an incredible player. Looking forward, hopefully it'll be many summers of you hanging out here in our area. Appreciate you spending some time with us this morning. Best of luck this weekend, all right?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
That's Izzy Scane, absolute superstar, and hey boy, it's going to be compelling in the next few years to see who ends up being the, I guess technically not the first because lacrosse was in the Olympics once a very long time ago, but of this era, the first players that will end up playing lacrosse in the Olympics in 2028 out in Los Angeles. So get out there this weekend. Last chance to check out Athletes Unlimited Pro Lacrosse out at USA Lacrosse headquarters in Sparks. Appreciate Izzy Scane taking the time for us this morning. All right, we are winding down for a Thursday edition of the program. You ready to go ahead and do a tidbit? Let's do it.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, Grant, what you got for us today for tidbits?
Bryce Harper reached 3,000 total bases yesterday, but I pulled up another Bryce Harper stat that I thought was a little bit funnier. He currently leads all active players in career ejections.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And the margin's pretty wide. He's got 21.
Okay, how about that?
Who are the 5 behind him?
Active baseball players
with the most career ejections.
I mean, I can only base this on guys that have played for a long time. Manny Machado.
He's got 10 career ejections at number 2. So the one I'm looking at right now, this was back in May, but I know he got tossed again on. I think it was Father's Day this year. He got tossed, so he was tied with with somebody else at 9. So he's got 10 now. So he's number 2. Do you see what I mean? Like the margin is wide.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Giancarlo Stanton.
I don't think he's ever been tossed before. No.
I don't know. I just got to go. I have no idea who's been tossed. I'm just trying to guess guys that have played in Mike Trout. Hey. Are there any pitchers on the list?
No.
Okay. Nolan Arenado.
Yeah, he's got 8.
Oh, okay. Jose Altuve.
No. So he got tossed a few weeks ago. I remember seeing that.
Man. Freddie Freeman.
Surprisingly not. But I do remember he got tossed a lot earlier in his career. He was very vocal back then.
I don't know that I'm going to do any... hang on. How about... Andrew McCutcheon.
No.
Justin Turner.
No.
The hell else has been around for a long time? Carlos Santana.
No, I don't think he's been tossed before.
Charlie Blackmon.
No, but I know he's been tossed a few times.
Paul Goldschmidt. Joey Votto.
Surprisingly not. You know what? I don't think they count him because he's in AAA right now.
Okay.
But if he was on the big league roster, he'd probably be second behind Harper. No doubt.
DJ LeMahieu?
Nope.
I don't know. Man, you're going to have to give me something here. I'm struggling. All I can think of is guys that have played for a long time.
Do you want some help?
Yeah, give me a hint on one of these.
Number 3 now got in a little scuffle last year with Jose Ramirez.
Got into a little
he got
scuffle.
Knocked
that was
out.
Tim Anderson.
Yeah, he got knocked out. And that's one of his ejections right there.
Yep.
5 and 6. One's a catcher, active catcher.
One's an active catcher. Will Smith.
No.
Alejandro Kirk.
NL Central.
Oh, Contreras?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's funny with him is I always like when he gets tossed on arguing balls and strikes, he will draw where the pitch was, and he ends up with a big fat.
It's pretty funny.
Snap the bat on the floor.
That's a good bit, actually.
Yeah, you should look that up. It's pretty funny.
All right. And
another former Cardinal, kind of journeyman. Well, I think he's still active on the roster, but journeyman. Had a good year with the Yankees a couple years ago.
Where's he now?
Back in St. Louis.
Back in St. Louis. Who went back to St. Louis? Had time with the Yankees.
Left-handed hitter.
Carpenter?
Yeah.
Oh.
He's got that. I know he gets tossed, but I didn't think he was going to be top 6 in career ejections.
Well, how about that? I learned something today. Very good. Thank you very much. Now let's get totally tubular.
There is a place where tradition, family, and community gather, where the aspirations of talented young competitors takes root, and where the crossroads of history, culture, and renewal come together. This spring, experience America's newest and most innovative ballpark, Meritus Park in Hagerstown, Maryland, home of the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Plan your getaway today. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland.
Here's what's coming up tonight. Totally Tubular. Masson 2, Orioles Blue Jays 7:07. Dean Kramer, Kevin Gausman, the pitching matchup. It's also on MLB Network in the rest of the country. As we mentioned, Athletes Unlimited Lacrosse, 5 o'clock on ESPNU, 7:30 on Bally Sports. The big ones in the Olympics today, I am biting nails because Brazil's up 5-3 on the U.S. in the 5th set of the women's volleyball semifinal right now. I'm not doing okay. Also, still to come on USA at 1:30, women's water polo semifinal, Australia and the U.S., and the men's basketball semifinal against Serbia. So, Jokic, see if he can spring the upset. It's at 2:45 today on USA. Also, coming up a little bit later on, baseball-wise, Giants-Nationals 4:05 on Masson and on ESPN+. MLB Network has Brewers-Braves at 12:20, Mets-Rockies at 3:10, Angels-Yankees 7:05. That's the local game because the Orioles game is on the rest of the country. But the rest of the country gets that one on MLB TV as the free game, and then Phillies-Diamondbacks tonight. ESPN, Little League Softball World Series and Little League Baseball Regionals all day. Tennis Channel coverage from up in Canada. The National Bank Open all day. Preseason football tonight, Panthers-Patriots, 7 o'clock on NFL Network, Access TV for TNA Impact. All right, that'll do it for us. Thanks today to Trenton Simpson of the Baltimore Ravens. Thanks also to Jim Miller. Thanks to Pat Reilly from the Bowie Baysox. And to Izzy Scane. We'll get it all up in the Grant Greatest Hits section of the...
Oh, my God. It's so good.
Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Well done. Tomorrow, Stan the Fan will be in studio with us. I was just told that Ben Verlander will be joining the program. I believe Cameron Maben is on the show tomorrow as well. Thanks to everybody at Pressbox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Maryland 5-Star Live Casino and Hotel. Visit Hagerstown in Washington County, Cruise, Maryland, Ocean City, Easy Pass, Royal Farms, Ed Block Courage Awards, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Costas Inn, MSAA, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Thanks to Grant, remind everybody.
20G to Viva, help me get farther away from 2K. I'm tired of all these bots following me. I want some people.
Okay.
Find me.
Give Grant a follow on Instagram. Appreciate your hard work.
Real people.
Thanks for coming in here today. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Thursday evening. Go Birds. Go Team USA's. Duke sucks.